All right, so we're going to move on to now the toxins in our food consumption, what we're eating. A lot of us are pretty aware of what we're eating, and especially in California, New York, things of that sort. People in general in the U.S. have a better understanding about what they're eating and what's going in their body and what's causing what effect. Meaning they're aware of the gluten-free and the glyphosate-free and this free and then that free. And I say this as far as a country and its awareness is because I live in Mexico and San Luis Potosí, Mexico, and I realize that there's a big gap of information that have a very wide years of informational gaps from everything. And I don't say that to criticize, I say that only to realize and recognize that every audience will be different. And when it comes to speaking to audiences in the U.S., usually pretty aware of what's going on as far as what's good and what's bad for you. The problem is we've got a lot of contradiction out there, and we don't know how to identify contradiction in general. So when we're being told by gurus, by doctors, by people in the know, from the mainstream or the mainstream alternative, that's another one. So the alternative, there's a mainstream and alternative. There's still a mislead and a misdirect, and people are not getting the benefits, they're not getting the result that they're looking for. They might get a little improvement, but then it always falls right back into the same problem they're trying to nullify, trying to fix. And so I'm not saying I'm an expert. I'm just saying I live my results. I walk the walk, I talk the talk, and I got the results. And it's just identifying who's saying what. And when there's contradiction, there's a half truth. So half of the truth is being said, and the other half of the truth is being withheld. And that withholding of information usually is why we are still like hamsters in a hamster wheel. We're not going anywhere. We're not getting anywhere fast. You know, dog chasing its tail. We're just going in a circle, and we still got the same effect, and it's not the effect that we want. You know, it's not the result that we want. So through a lot of trial and error, through a lot of personal experience, this is what I have organized in the shortest amount of time possible that I can do right now on this video without getting into extreme details, just some guidelines on where to start looking, where to start putting the attention in the direction on trying to help the body with food consumption. So I'm going to go down the list. It's five things. If we can nullify these 5 types of toxins, we're going to see a serious improvement and result in what we're looking for. Be it feel better, think better, react better. When I say that is some people, because of these toxins, have neurological problems, psychological problems, from anxiety to schizophrenia, and we don't recognize that substances can cause a chemical effect in the brain to cause and trigger these circumstances to be. And so we have all kinds of problems, from irritated skin to anxiety to let's see, what is that one? I'm always trying to remember it and I always forget it. But so many people, the Hashimoto's. We have people who have the problem with the Hashimoto's. We've got people who have problems with arthritis, where they can barely move their body, and every move is an ache and a pain, and it's just living with pain. I know people like this, and we have to begin to look at what's going in the body. What's going in the body is causing an effect. An electrical signal's being pulsed somewhere, and it's sending information, and that information is causing a breakdown. It's like putting sand in the gas tank. We can't do that. It's going to filter through the system, and it's going to cause a negative effect. It doesn't belong there. So we're consuming substances that we don't recognize should belong there at all. And so when we nullify them, that is the best detox that we can begin to have, because it stops from coming in and creating a negative effect. And so we can choose to or choose not to look at this from the angle I'm going to look at it, because a lot of people are like, well, you're not a doctor, you're not this, you're not that. No, but I am the results of my words. And you can see me on Facebook if you want to look at any pictures. I'm under Michelle Angelique on Facebook. I don't have too many pictures on YouTube. You can't really put pictures on YouTube. But I'm going to be posting more before and afters, because seeing is believing, and walking the walk and talking the talk is always, always going to supersede anything else. The science is important to have there, and it's there. But it's not my job to get it for you. All I can do is give you the direction, because I can put the information right in front of you. Don't mean you're going to look at it, you know? Don't mean, and so I just wasted my time getting you the information and digging it up, because it's a lot of digging. It's a lot of digging in that research. And so I'm just going to give direction for you to take that information and go down that road to see how this information can help you as it has helped me. So high lectins. Oh, let me just go down the 5. So we can go down the 5 real quick. And the 5 toxins that I keep out of my body as much as possible. It's impossible to keep them all out, and you'll see what I mean as I'm going down this list. But keeping the majority out is going to make a huge, huge improvement in the results that you want to see, depending on what problems you have. I shouldn't even say depending. Whatever problem you got, you're going to see an improvement period. So here we go. High lectins and glyphosate. Those two combinations together, and the glyphosate is in the grass cereal grains. You always hear people talk about grains, keep the grains out. Not all grains are the same. We'll go back and talk about that, but it's the high lectins with the cereal grass grains that have the glyphosate. The next one is soy. Any soy product. It is a estrogen. It's a natural estrogen in the plant. It's called a phytoestrogen, causing all kinds of imbalances in the human body, putting in the hormones that we don't even recognize we're eating it. And we think we don't eat soy, but it's in absolutely 99.9% of everything that we eat if we buy it processed. Unless we go out of our way to find that it doesn't have it. That's how much soy estrogens we're eating on a daily basis for the whole of our lives. It's in our baby formula all the way to our, grandparents' protein drink to help their better health. I mean, that's how long we've been eating this, and how prevalent it is from birth, or from being born all the way into old age. And it will take an effect. It will cause an effect. So soy. The other one would be artificial sweeteners. They are nerotoxins. They have nothing to do with sugar, which is glucose. And everybody's afraid of sugar. And I'll go into other videos on we don't have to be afraid of sugar in its natural source, meaning from honey, from brown sugar, from natural sources of how we get sugar. It's getting all the old sugar shit out so that we can restart when we do have sugar and know what's going in the body and the quality of that sugar that's going in the body. And then we'll be able to gauge how much actually we're consuming when we stop eating the packaged food that has a whole ton of this processed sugar that it doesn't even have to state in the ingredients, and we don't know what we're eating. And so artificial sweeteners are made in a lab to cause intense reaction of stimulation in the brain. And what it does is there's a lot of doctors on this, especially brain surgeons and neurosurgeons is what I'm trying to say. Dr. Blaylock is the #1 on this, and he will talk about, if you want data, if you want facts, you go to Dr. Blaylock for neurotoxins of artificial sweeteners. It ain't sweet. It's toxic to the brain ASAP. Let me give an example. We have aspartame, which is a blue packet. We have saccharin, this is a pink packet. And we have sucralose, is a yellow packet. Sucralose is not to be confused with sucrose, because sucrose means sugar, right? Sugar molecule. But sucralose is what is the artificial sweetener to sound like it comes from a natural source of sucrose. So there's a little playing in the words there. And so in general, if we don't know this information, we grab it and we registered as being normal or natural and sugar. It's not. And so we think we're not eating this stuff, but it's in our toothpaste, it's in our freaking deodorant, it's in the kids' yogurts, it's in adult yogurts. I mean, it's in the Jello, it's in everything. But because the names change for the same product, I'm gonna give you an example. You have aspartame, right? But it also be asaflam K, and it also be potassium or asaflam potassium K. It has a huge long list. All of these three artificial sweeteners, which I just went over, the blue, pink, and yellow packet. And those lists of names are what I want to share so that people know how to identify and see what's in their ingredients when they're actually buying something. They know what they're actually consuming. And so when they get these incredible migraines, or they get this super surge of anger and aggression and they don't know where it's coming from, this stuff creates huge effect on behavior, on emotions, and physicality of the brain. It causes degradation of the brain. And so that's why it's a neurotoxin. And you don't need to hear from me. You can go to Dr. Blaylock, 25-year brain surgeon. If you can't believe it from there, I don't know what you need. But it is what it is. And that's one of the things that I completely stay away from in my consumption in my home. And even when I go outside, I pay attention to make sure that's not getting into my diet. Table salt. We're all told salt is bad. Table salt is horrible, and it shouldn't be consumed. Table salt, when it is consumed, it's not the same salt as what is sea salt. Sea salt the body needs because it has all the minerals and multi-layered minerals to get all the functions and operations going on in the body as it's supposed to, you know. When I say, its body needs minerals for function, for proper functions of operations. Mental, psychological, physical, emotional, all those are our operations. And without minerals, shit ain't working right. And we, in general, are not taught these things. And so we lose control of knowing what is happening, losing control of information. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is we don't know what's going on, so we depend on somebody else to tell us what's going on, and they don't know what's going on because they're also not educated in it. And that's our medical system is not educated in what nutrients do for the body. And for me, that's a setup. You can look at it however you want, but if you look at all my other videos, you realize that I'm coming from a different angle, and my angle is everything's a setup for the breakdown. So if we're breaking down, something's setting that up for that breakdown. It can't just be random that we're just making all these mistakes, and we're making these mistakes available to everybody to break down their health. Again, I'll stop myself right there. Table salt, replace it for sea salt. Body needs that sea salt. So when doctor says no sodium, he's right. Sodium chloride is what they're putting inside of table salt. So table salt is sodium chloride is one mineral from the multi-minerals that sea salt has. So they take the sodium chloride and they put it in there with a little potassium, which is also one of the minerals inside. When I say inside the sea salt, it's one of the many minerals in there. And what's happening is the sodium chloride is higher than the potassium, and its ratios are wrong. It's supposed to be more potassium, less sodium chloride, or else the body starts retaining all this liquid, and it starts getting problems with swelling under the eyes and water retention in the body, high blood pressure. All this pressure is building up in the body is because the setup for the salt is incorrect. And when I say setup, it's just set up incorrectly. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Set up incorrectly to cause a lot of problems and dysfunctions in the body. And so we've taken this table salt and replaced it for our sea salt that has all the multi-minerals that our body needs for proper functions and operations in the body to get things done right, in all aspects of it. So when they say no table salt, correct. Sea salt, necessary, needed for operations. Fluoride is the other one. Fluoride is in our water, in our tap water. Fluoride is in our toothpaste. Fluoride is unavoidable when it comes to taking a shower unless you have a water system that's a reverse osmosis or something that takes out the fluoride in the water from when we're taking a shower or a bath. taking mineral supplements helps to remove the calcification of the fluoride that's on the glands and in the body. Again, I'm giving direction. I don't need to be a doctor. I need to be somebody who pays attention and researches and brings the information to help myself, and do for myself, that I'm passing this information for you to go look and start looking down this avenue of information of what I'm talking about, to give direction so you could do something to help yourself. And so what's going on with the fluoride is it's corrosive to our glands. It not only corrodes our glands, it brings down our intelligence. It is used in Prozac to keep, which is a pharmaceutical drug, to keep people's emotions null. They don't feel this and they don't feel that. They don't feel. And if you notice that we got society that just don't feel no more. They don't react or respond or do or be. They don't pick a side. They're like just fucking in the middle. You know, just like, bah. So we got all this shit going on around in our world, and we're just like, bah, about it. And when I say other shit going on in our world, I mean a lot of things that we should be attentive to, but we don't have that attention. And why don't we got that attention? Because our emotions are nullified and we don't even recognize it's happening. So yes, there's fluoride when we're taking a shower, right? There's fluoride in our water system. And like I say, you go to minerals, get minerals, and it starts taking off that calcification that sits on our glands, on our thyroid, pineal gland, all the different glands that we have send out information, signals throughout the body of how to be, what to do, and what to do next. It's a relay. We got a relay going on. And when those glands are corrosive, just like you see on a battery post, it looks the same. You can go to, let me finish this thought. It looks the same as the same corrosion that you get on a battery post from a car, and you have to take off that corrosion, you know. If you don't take off that corrosion, you're not going to get that connection to get the car going, to get that, when that spark goes, you get that car moving. So that corrosion is happening to our glands, and the relay that we got is not, we're not relaying information the way it's supposed to be. So our bodies are degrading faster than they're supposed to. Our feelings are not sensing the way we're supposed to. We're not reacting and behaving the way we're supposed to. And a lot of people might be like, I'm reacting just fine. We could always be better. And we won't know what that better is until we step outside of that corrosion or this toxicity and recognize what we can be. Yeah. So I'll leave that at that. The fluoride is in our toothpaste. It's about getting a toothpaste that doesn't have the fluoride, which a lot of people are aware of, but not everybody is aware of this. There's fluoride in table salt. That's another reason why I don't consume table salt. Table salt also not just ratios wrong from the potassium and the sodium chloride, but they add fluoride to some table salts. They're also adding let me go back to table salt. Something that I forgot to say is, they also, I've seen table salt that has something called sodium thiosulfate. I always forget the name. I mixed up with something else, so I wrote it down to make sure I get it right. But sodium thiosulfate, not that it's bad, but it needs to be used in a certain way, and it can't be just consumed every day. Sodium thiosulfate will strip everything out of the body, including your minerals. And every day that you take it, it takes out, it's an incredible detoxifier, but you have to put in minerals the next day. You have to. If you don't put in minerals, you're not going to be replenishing or replacing what the sodium thiosulfate is stripping out. So it takes out all the bad and the good. And so you don't replace it with enzymes and minerals, you're not going to recover. And so people are eating this stuff every day, and they're becoming unraveled, and they're super unhealthy, and they don't know why. Well, it's because they got this ingredient in their table salt. So it's important to be attentive to our sea salt, and it just be sea salt. So when you look at the ingredients, what is it? Sea salt, we're done. That's it. Doesn't need to have anything special added to it. And that's why, going back to that sea salt, that's a very easy way to know you got a good sea salt. It just says sea salt. Doesn't say anything else in the back of the ingredients. Back to fluoride and the Prozac. A lot of people cook with tap water. A lot of people don't, but I know that there's people who do. And when fluoride is heated, it goes up to 200% in intensity. Again, something you could look up, find for yourself. And so if you're not getting 100% of that fluoride, now you're getting 200% of that fluoride when heat is added to it. And so fluoride is degrading to the body, degrades the body in many ways, in its mental processes, emotional process, physical aspects of it, of its functions. You can go to somewhere like Fluoride Action Network and start looking for yourself. Like I said, this information is not for people who want to debunk or argue. There is no argument. If this information doesn't sit with you, it's about getting up and out your seat and checking out where you're sitting. If you're sitting here listening to this, you're going to get mad about it. You shouldn't even be here in the first place. So this information is for people who want some direction and start looking for how to help themselves. So it would be removing fluoride from your products. We're going to talk about products in a minute, but any fluoride in consumption, if you're drinking listen to me. If you're drinking tap water and you're cooking with tap water, stop. I actually know people who do that and they think it's just fine, but they also have things happening to them that they don't know what's going on, or is causing an effect that they can't see it's coming from their tap water. It also degrades bones. Number one, for osteoporosis. The bones in the teeth breaks them down, makes them brittle. That's why when you're like 50 years old, 60 years old, you fall down and you shatter. We're not supposed to be fucking shattering. We're not supposed to be shattering, but we're shattering because of all the fluoride that we've been consuming for the majority of our lives, if not all of our lives. A lot going on with fluoride. Check it out. And the fluoride we do get in our body, minerals, help break it down and move it out of the body. On my YouTube channel, I have how I make my own mineral mix. My liquid mineral mix put under the tongue goes right into the salivary glands, runs through the body. You can feel the connection right away as soon as it goes down. Like I said, into the salivary glands, and you begin to detoxify. You begin to charge up, which is the mitochondria inside of the cells. You start getting everything going the way it's supposed to. And so minerals is having good quality minerals every day, absolute necessity for helping to strengthen the body, charge up the cells in the body, give them what they need, and detoxify, pull out the trash. It also pushes out what is nano. I'm going to go into another video another time, more specifically, and only specifically, I should say, on what's going on with these nanoparticles in the cells and affecting the cells and affecting the biology of a human being. For right now, removing the fluoride from consumption, table salt, going to sea salt, removing all artificial sweeteners, recognizing that it's in your packaged food, that it's not just a blue, pink, and yellow packet that you go buy, but it's inside of foods, pre-made foods or packaged foods. It's in there. It's in the mints. It's in the gums. It's in the kids' medicine. Little kids' medicine, and so you know why they're all fucking hyper, but because they got some aspartame that keeps them from being able to make a neurological connection to stop. So when you ask them to stop, they can't. They're like this. And it's not just in their medicine, it's in the food that we're giving them, it's in the juice that we're giving them. And then we get mad at the little kids because they don't listen. Well, they can't, because then that can't make a connection neurologically. The signal is being blocked. And so these are things that people can learn from Dr. Blaylock about the neurology, and it's called nutrition and behavior. How what's going in the body is causing a behavior, and so without nutrition, we can't get the right organized behavior within the body. And I mean organized just means functional. And so soy, you want to get rid of anything that's soy. Soy lecithin, lecithin. It's really hard to say because there's lectin, lecithin, and leptin. I'll go into another video what all those things, three things are. It's like a tongue twister. But soy lecithin, and lecithin is a fat, so it's just a soy fat. It's in chocolates. It's in everything that they use for emulsifying to make it all congeal together, and that would be our products that we usually buy and consume, chew. Like I said, it's in the gum. It's in everything from top to bottom. You start looking on the back of the products, you'll see that there's, as far as consumption products, you'll see that there's some word of soy in there. And so that means you're getting estrogens, and that's female hormones. And for men, when you got female hormones coming on for so long, the breasts start growing. You get the little chichis that keep growing. You're like, but why is it there? It shouldn't be there. You're right, it shouldn't be there. But you get that. What happens is that estrogen builds up in the tissue, in the breast tissue. And for women, it builds up in the breast tissue, and then they have to get their breasts cut off because it's an excess of estrogen in the breast tissue. And for men, it starts building up, and they can see it. And the hips start growing way out of proportion for women, and it's not looking good no more. It's not big and bubbly and beautiful. It starts like creating its own freaking atmosphere because it starts getting so big. And I'm not saying that to criticize. I'm just saying that sometimes it gets way out of proportion. They don't know why that's going on. It's with the excess of estrogen. It causes distortion in the body. Estrogen, going back, there's a huge list of all the problems that happen with estrogens in the body, and you can look that up and see what all those problems, those causes and effects are. Point is get it out of the diet in your home 100%. The other one, and it's the biggest one, it's the number one, is the high lectin foods with glyphosate. Now this can be a little confusing, but there's a list out there, a yes and no list of what to buy to make people's life easier. It's the best list I've been able to find, and it comes from Dr. Gundry, Stephen Gundry. I do not promote his products because his products have nano building materials in there, which, like I said, it's another video, but his list is good enough for people to start working with and seeing a result in their body. So it'll say what has high lectins and what doesn't. And so following that food list, it just makes shopping a lot easier for people. Another thing about it is his food list that makes it difficult is his food list is for people who have big wallets, who got a lot of money. And so when I say a lot of money, you got to have a lot of money to be able to buy all pasture raised eggs, you know, from our pasture raised chickens, for pasture raised chicken eggs. The beef has to be all grass fed. Well, that's not a reality for the rest of us who live out here and got to get the food in walking distance from the only market that we can get to, or to, because of budget, we can't afford to get them, you know, even if we can drive and we have the ability to get to other stores. And so it makes it really tough. I still follow that food list. Have modified it for what's going on, taking into account the heavy metals that are in the atmosphere. There is this nanobiological technology, which are these metals. I put that into my food list. I haven't made my food list, but it will be coming out for people who need a more down-to-earth food list and how to nullify, like maybe say the hormones in the eggs, right? For people who can't get pasture-raised chicken eggs, put essential oil of rosemary or thyme or oregano, and what that does is it creates an estrogen blocker, and so it starts helping to get the excess estrogen out of the body, and it nullifies the excess estrogen that's in the chicken eggs. And it's unfortunately the only chicken eggs that, you know, most of us, and I'm including myself, I'm gonna put myself right in there, it's all I can afford. And so if that's all I can afford, and that's all I can do, I got to do something to fix the problem that I have, to nullify it and to help build up and strengthen up my body so it doesn't break me down. And my kid system down too. You know, I got a boy, I got a girl. I want to make sure that they're raised in the best integrity that I can get for them, and that's just knowing this information. And I got other videos that you can see on my Truth and Integrity Warrior where I organize how to detox food, and it'll show you how to do that. But going back to the high lectins and glyphosate from cereal grass grains. Glyphosate is an herbicide. You can look that up, and there's a lot of controversy, right? Not controversy, but there's a lot of information, a lot of lawsuits on there. And it's an herbicide. It's a fucking, excuse my language, it is a weed killer. So if it kills plants, kills weeds, it kills anything that you spray it on. But the plant has been genetically engineered to withstand the poison so that it doesn't die, so that it can get to market and that poison get into the body. Other people will call it for other things. I'm calling it for what I see it is, getting into the body, and that poison is causing a distortion in the body. So my body, like my family's body, because it is our tendency to become obese, and that's why it's so big. I look at a sandwich and I'd already get big. You know, it felt like that. I feel like, you know, and you got that hate for yourself, and you can't stand yourself. And I'm just talking about myself, and growing up, not understanding why my weight was always. I always had this distortion in my body. I don't have that problem no more. My body's firm, it's fierce, it's fantastic, and I hardly work out. And I used to work out very hard and still couldn't get the results that I got now, but because I'm not putting into my body what's breaking it down. And that's why I say it's the best detox, is keeping out what's causing the negative effect. Excuse me, I'm gonna cough there. Didn't realize I needed water. I could talk it up. All right, so going back, Gmo Glyphosate. It has to be GMO or it can't take glyphosate. It will not be able to withstand glyphosate. It'll be dead. It won't get to market. It won't be eating it. So if it has a glyphosate, it's because it's been engineered to withstand the toxin. Now there's a difference between glyphosate on some other type of vegetable or fruit that won't cause that distortion, will cause a breakdown in other ways. But I'm talking about the distorting of the molecular structure of the body with obesity. And I'm speaking from personal experience, the cereal grass grains have the highest amount of lectins. And we're going to go into lectins. It's a natural pesticide that the seed acquires. And it just has it, right? But when they genetically modify it and it goes through this engineering process, it's no longer a small irritant. It's a constant irritant, and it doesn't stop. So it's supposed to just, we're supposed to be able to eat a high lectin, right? Like our great grandparents, they would they have these foods with the high lectins, and I'll go over what foods those are. They knew how to process those foods by hand, meaning they knew how to peel, how to. All right, so I ran out of battery and I had to make an adjustment. Going back to the grandparents. Our great-grandparents knew what was going on with high lectins. They didn't pass it on. In general, for all of us to know it, in some way, somehow it faded out, that information. Because I know I didn't know it. I just watched my grandma all the time cooking the tomatoes and the chilies, burning them until the skin all came off. And then she sweat them, put them in a plastic bag, and then the skin would come off, and then she'd take out the seeds. And I was like, God, that's a big old process. I'm just going to grab them, stick them in the blender, blend them, and bam, bada bing, bada boom, I got salsa. And I didn't understand why my grandma would go through that whole process, right? And she was taking out the high lectins. So I'm sure she was taught by her grandparents and her it just goes on. It's traditional. But we lost that tradition. We lost a lot of culture from our grandparents. And so now understanding what's going on with these high lectins, and not only just high lectins, high genetically modified lectins, meaning that if it was an irritant in the past, to our great grandparents, and it caused bloating and irritation, now we're talking, Pee Wee Herman style, messing with the immune system, it causing an irritation. We're talking about Thanos type of causing irritation, where it's like boom, drop, everything just immune system just drop. And that's what's going on with these high lectins. It's causing what they call the killer cells to come down, and those killer cells are our first line of defense. They're just there like ready, ain't nothing coming through. But as soon as those guys, something affects those guys, everything's coming through. So all the toxins that we got built up, and all the toxins that we get exposed to, and all the toxins that come in, just take an effect on the body. And we all got different effects because we all got different tolerances. And that's the biggest question I get asked. Well, how come, Michelle, something affects, your skin, but it's not affecting me, so it must not be real because it's not affecting other people. It's like the silliest statement ever made. We all have different tolerances. It's like being punched in the nose, Some person gets punched in the nose, they're going to get big black eyes from it. That same person that's punching everybody in the nose, everybody's going to get a different effect. Some person get punched in the nose and don't feel nothing. But if you keep on punching and keep on punching that nose, that person who has a super high tolerance eventually is going to break down. And so we got all these people with all these different tolerances to toxins, Some people are going to react like this, some people are going to react like that, some people are going to get some of this, some people are going to get some of that, and some people don't get no effect until one day they hit a point where their body just like, boom, can't take it no more. Can't take the toxins no more because they can't take out the amount of toxins that they're used to doing. The body can only take so much. And what I mean about that is some of us react immediately to a toxin in a certain way, and some of us, our body is able to get out that toxin pretty well and efficiently. But after being bombarded for so long with the same toxins, the body will break down. It just takes longer. So this is what we're all on a different degree on the scale, or I should say degree line. And the fact is that we're all being bombarded with these toxins, and it's causing a negative effect. Whatever effect it may be, it's a negative effect. And it's about stopping that negative effect so we can get that integrity back to proper functions of operations of our body, mind, emotion, and psychology. I got my list, so I make sure I don't miss any topics or points in the topic that we're talking about. So going back to a food list, it's getting a low lectin diet. A low lectin diet would mean that the lectins in the food are low, where it's not bringing down the killer cells that are our front line of defense for our immune system. So I'm saying those words, so you go look up, killer cells, and you start looking up what is it for the immune system, and what relation do they have, and what does high lectins, how do they affect that? And so this information that we generally don't have, this doctor put this list together for what to eat and what not to eat. Like I said, it's on the expensive side, but if you still follow that list and you get what you can, because that's what you can afford, you're still going to see a positive effect. And like I said, on my page you can see how I detox with essential oils and other things to nullify what is that I can afford to get, and what I got to do to still build up and strengthen up and maintain integrity with what I got or with what I can afford. That is what it is for the food consumption. Let me go over high lectins. When you go on a high lectin free diet, or they call it a low lectin diet, or they call it a no lectin diet, which is, there's no such thing as no lectin. It'll just be a lesser lectin. If it has a lectin, it'll just be a lesser than high. But you can't have a no lectin diet. That would be impossible when it comes to the food list that we're talking about. Where am I at? So a high lectin is a natural pesticide, and some seeds have more natural pesticide than others. And then glyphosate is the man-made herbicide. So that doesn't come from nature. It's made in a lab, and it's set up for the plant to be able to tolerate the poison that's put onto it, and that would be the herbicide. I'm going to be putting a link, which is from Dr. Terry Verrain, and he is a glyphosate GMO scientist. And so he was pro glyphosate, and then he changed his mind after he started seeing what was going on. And so he'll give you the science and the data for those of you who are looking for science and data on glyphosate. And he gets into a bunch of other stuff, but it's pretty good. So keeping that out of the body, following this list, will get rid of the gluten situation, the soy situation, the artificial sweetener situation, the natural flavor situation. I didn't go into natural flavors, but I will in a minute. It takes away the natural effects, the natural pesticide that's genetically modified, and the man-made glyphosate herbicide. So going on a low lectin diet will take care of all of those things encompassed, and so the body starts getting a chance to be able to start not having to defend itself all the time. It can start working on repair. So it's either working on repair, the body, or it's working on defense, and we don't give it a chance to work on repair because it's always on a defense mode, and it's a really bad setup. So I'm going to give you an idea of what a low lectin diet is. We have foods that have high lectins, and they're not just in our cereal grass grains like a lot of us know, meaning the wheat, the corn, the rice, the oats. Those are all seeds from a cereal, or not from a cereal, from a grass And because they're from a grass, they're in a category of grains that are the highest in lectins. And then the others that are high in lectins is all of our legumes. There's no replacements for the legumes. It's just like keep away from the legumes till you can start seeing the repair in your body. And then if you want to go back to your beans or to your lentils, high pressure cooking is absolutely necessary. Soaking them overnight and then going through a high pressure cooker to break down the lectins through the heat. So for those of you who have to have it, certain legumes and can't live without them, just try for 2 months going on this high lectin free diet. Keep away from all the things on that list and watch your body repair. And then after those 2 months, then make a decision to see if that's what you want to go and, put those beans back in the diet, or if you have to have those lentils. I'm just giving examples. I don't mean exactly that, but just in general examples. Give your body a chance first for 2 months to check it out, to repair itself. What a lot of us don't know is something called the Nightshade Vegetables. My diet changed for the better as soon as I recognized, or I shouldn't say my diet. I'll go into another video at another time. But what happened when I recognized that the vegetables had high lectins in them was a shock to me. Because it wasn't distorting my body having these vegetables, but my scars were getting real black, and I wasn't recognizing that that's what was causing a histamine reaction, meaning my body was on defense, and I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel any distortion, I know I say distortion, meaning if I had a cereal grass grain like oats, corn, wheat, rice, my body just go, just big old belly jelly, just like bam, big old back fat, just like bam. And once I got control of that, I was able to keep a nice strong body. And then my body got even stronger and better when I started refining and adjusting, getting rid of these nightshades, which are also in potatoes. So potatoes will also give you that big belly that, you don't know why it's there, and it's not too big, and you're not too mad about it, but, you can do without it. Well, the potatoes, everything has been so changed and so modified within our food system that it's not the food of our great grandparents no more. We're talking about we're working with something else, and so we got to make some adjustments so we can keep integrity in our body and be faster, better, stronger, and we can do it. Just following some couple rules to maintain integrity in the body, and the immune system is the number one, and that immune system lies in the intestines, working on maintaining and refortifying our intestines. Our intestines, because that's where all the information comes up from the B vitamins that are produced in there, the process of amino acids and proteins, the process of enzymes. Everything is getting worked in there and then sending a relay of information up to the brain, and the brain does the chemistry and creates certain signals for the rest of the body. So everything's a relay of information of nutrients, and if the intestines ain't right, nothing's right. It's kind of like if the dishwasher at the restaurant ain't working, ain't nobody working, and nobody working, nothing's happening, because the chefs aren't getting and the cooks aren't getting their pans. The dish setup ain't got no dishes to put out the food. The servers ain't got no food to serve on. They got nothing to go serve to the tables, and the customers don't have anywhere to get their plate of food served to them. So as little attention that we do put into the intestines, it's the number one place of system of operations where everything else moves forward from that. So it's another thing to pay attention and direct our attention to. There are something called the vegetables that are the kale and the chards, the spinaches. I'm so bad at pronouncing, but they call them cruciferous. And I know I got to go back and fix this, but it's the vegetables that when you eat them raw, what they end up doing is they start demineralizing the body. And they're good if you're going to have some every once in a while and take out not just the minerals, but all the trash out of the body. It's a good little mini detox. But the problem is that we've been told to eat them every day and that they're good for us. And what it does is it demineralizes the body after a while. So it's not just taking out. Okay, so they're called Cruciferous Vegetables. I had to go check that out because I know that I was pronouncing that, I was butchering that pronunciation. What is the vegetables that if we don't cook them, they become demineralizing to the body. So these little details are in Dr. Stephen Gundry's food list, what yes and what no. Again, I do not promote Dr. Stephen Gundry's products. It has nano building materials in his products, and that's from my own personal perspective, why I do not, personal perspective and information that I have on nanotech and how it builds in the body. Again, another video for another episode. This is just about how to detox, not putting certain things in the body, so to give the body a chance to repair itself, and that's the best detox above all, because there's no point in putting things into our body to help us clean out our body when we keep loading it with the trash or the toxins that are overwhelming the body. So if we got an overwhelming, we don't know what's going in is causing the breakdown, and we think we're drinking this magic pill or this magic water or this magic potion or whatever magic we think we're taking to clean ourselves or fix ourselves, and we keep putting in the toxins, it's never going to balance out right. So we got to get that balance right, whereas we keep out what's causing the negative effect, and then when we start putting things in to help us detoxify, we start seeing a much better, quicker result, effects. We start getting the effects that we want to see. It's 1:30 in the morning right now. My eyes are closing. I just watched my video and my eyes are closing. So I'm going to do my best to wrap this up as far as the last part.